Greetings, traveller from beyond the fog. I am Melina. I offer you an accord.
Elden Ring is simply phenomenal. It is easily the best open world I have ever experienced and has set a new standard in the genre of action-adventure open world games. Let's begin with the main reason why this game is so amazing: the exploration. Most open world games released these days are filled with player aids. I'm talking arrows on the floor pointing to where you need to go, alerts showing you when an enemy is about to attack, quest logs full of text that you will never bother to read, 30 million quest markers on your map at all times, and so on. From the moment you step into Limgrave until the end of the game, the only tools you are given is a compass, a map, and a couple of waypoints you can place down on that map. That's it. The player is placed into the world without any guidance, which is what makes the game so refreshing. I'm sick and tired of games, especially more recent ones, holding the player's hand by telling them where to go and how to get there, explaining how to solve puzzles for the player through markers or character dialogue, and so much more. These kind of guides are simply not there in Elden Ring, leaving the player to either figure out a problem on their own or search it up on the internet. Finding items around the world, uncovering hidden dungeons and bosses, these things give the game a sense of wonder and mystery that is simply not possible to execute if the player already knows where everything is because of all the 30 million markers on the map. The best part is, the game actively rewards you for exploring the world. There are times you might decide to explore an area away from the direction of the nearest rune, only to find a hidden dungeon attached to the side of a cliff, or a massive dragon flying in from out of nowhere. Straying from the intended path can also lead you to find special items on the ground, like stone sword keys, merchant bells, and other items you can use on your journey. Yes, simply staying on the recommended path dictated by the runes will still lead you to have an enjoyable time with this game, but the players who choose to take their time and explore every inch of the world will be rewarded. I believe that immersion is a very important factor in how much I enjoy a video game. When people talk about immersion in games, they tend to first think of aspects like a first-person perspective, dialogue options, or being able to customize your character to your liking. However, I believe that the most important factor in a player's immersion is the freedom that the game gives you. Elden Ring is the definition of freedom in a video game. Everywhere you see, you can go to. There are almost no barriers holding you back, allowing you to go pretty much anywhere you want. The more you take advantage of this freedom, the more you will get out of the game. Although the lack of direction and aids gives the player more freedom to do what they wish, I did find that the game sometimes follows this to a fault. One example being the lack of a quest journal for the various side quests in the game. If you were to drop the game for a week or so and pick it back up again, it is very difficult to find out where you were in a particular side quest without searching it up and retracing your steps. Another factor I found that contributes to the greatness of this game is the sense of scale and its levels. This game is massive. The sheer variety of normal enemies and bosses is simply mind-blowing. Almost every area you go to is different from the last and comes with a new set of enemies and places for you to explore. Now, it is important to point out that there are multiple repeat dungeons in the game with copy and paste bosses, and that the last quarter or so of the game did have many more similar enemies compared to the first 3 quarters. But to have this many unique enemies in the first place is still a remarkable feat. One of the best factors that contributes to this sense of skill is the map. Having the map only show the areas that you have explored and not showing the entirety of the game world works wonders for giving the world a sense of scale. There were multiple times where I thought that I was on the last section of the game, only to discover that there was a whole new area on the map that I haven't even stepped foot in yet. This isn't just a case of bloated content either, that we have seen in multiple open world games before. As I said, each area is unique and provides the player a fresh experience. I remember before this game released, a lot of Souls fans were concerned over the fact that Elden Ring would be an open world game, and rightfully so. FromSoft are known for their excellent linear level design, and having them stray from that would be a travesty. Somehow, these guys were able to combine a vast open world with the linear levels they were known for in their previous games. There are an abundance of castles and dungeons, with doors connecting areas in unexpected and exciting ways that we have seen in Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of Souls games. The combat. Elden Ring provides you with a large variety of weapons to choose from. You can use katanas, magic, daggers, longswords, and so much more. I personally went with the greatswords for my first playthrough, specifically the standard greatsword at first and then the Star-Scourge greatsword after beating Radahn. However, I found that I really wasn't enjoying the combat all that much. It's certainly not bad by any means, but it didn't really engage me like I thought it would. The first Souls game I ever played was Bloodborne, and I specifically remember falling in love with its fast-paced combat. It was punishing, but the game kept you on your heels and rewarded you for being aggressive. The same could be said about Sekiro, but to a large degree because of its focus on parrying. With the Dark Souls series and Elden Ring, the combat is much slower. You do 1 or 2 hits, then you roll away, wait for the boss to finish attacking, then hit them a couple times and roll away again, rinse and repeat. There were multiple times in Bloodborne and Sekiro where I was completely in the zone when finding a boss. I'm sure this is a feeling a lot of you could relate to when it feels like every fiber in your being is completely engrossed in defeating the boss you see on the screen. It's kind of the same feeling you get when you're playing sports and everything is going right. The thing is, I didn't feel this nearly as much while playing Elden Ring, most likely because of the slower paced combat I mentioned before. I understand that this is completely a personal preference and it isn't really a quote-unquote flaw, but it is something that I felt, especially in the latter half of the game. Another thing I'm not the biggest fan of, not just in Elden Ring, but most games by FromSoft, is the presentation of the story. I'll just say it straight up. The average player should not have to watch a Vati video to understand the story in your game. This is frustrating because just by exploring the world and its different biomes, talking to NPCs, and observing the enemy variety, you can easily tell that there is a rich and deep story behind this world. But what's the point if the player cannot understand it? Listen, I'm not asking for multiple cutscenes and exposition dumps, and I appreciate the subtlety of certain story elements, but at least explain enough to allow the player to understand their objective and the reasons behind it. Now with that being said, who the hell plays FromSoft games mainly for their stories, right? The story being hard to understand doesn't really take away from my enjoyment of the game, but if it was there, it would have added to it, if that makes any sense. That about sums it up for my review. I know I spent the last couple of minutes shitting on the game, but truthfully speaking, its positives greatly outweigh its negatives. It has set a new standard in the industry, and I look forward to seeing how FromSoft or any other developers build upon the foundation Elden Ring has created. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Peace out.